All right, welcome everybody. We'll go ahead and get started here. Usually when someone speaks in a setting like this, they're usually here speaking because they've accomplished some great thing. They may be played in the NFL, the NBA. They may be a great athlete. They maybe have had business success, financial success. Um, they may be a great author. They've accomplished something in their lives, so they get invited to speak. Now, I'm here speaking to y'all today, maybe because one of those things, but I'm going to have you guys guess why I'm here speaking. If you look at me, I'm built more like an NFL linebacker, and I was a linebacker for the Washington football team during the 80s. Now, probably looking at me, you probably know that's not true. I'm not here speaking to y'all because I was an NFL football player. I'm actually here speaking to y'all today because I was a point guard in the NBA for the Washington Wizards. It's probably obvious. I'm not here speaking to y'all for that reason. The real reason I'm here speaking to y'all today is I actually work in the music industry. I'm a professional rapper, and I'm sure some of you out there aren't sure if that's really true. So I'm gonna bust a rhyme for you. Maybe some of you are starting to recognize me. My rapping name was Mighty Moore. And so I'm the educated rapper from Maryland. I'll be here today. I'll be gone tomorrow because I'm bad like that. My name is Jack. I drive the Cadillac. It's probably obvious I'm not a professional rapper. The real reason why I'm here speaking to y'all today is I'm one of the world renowned leading experts in fear and failure. I attended the University of Adversity. Again, most people get the opportunity to speak because of success. I started speaking about 24 years ago because of just the challenges in my life. And when you have challenges, you have to learn resilience. You have to be able to learn how to convert pain into power. And that's what I'm excited to talk to you all about. But I want to share with you a little bit about my journey and some of my fears and failures. One of my first failures happened in the first 2 years of my life when I was born. My mom thought I was the cutest baby boy in the whole world. She entered me into a baby contest that had a whole bunch of kids in this contest, and I won first place. Now, the challenge is in winning first place is I won first place is the cutest baby girl. I have curly hair, naturally curly hair, and my uncle helped put me in this contest. And because my mom was sick, wasn't able to go, so he went with me and put me in my sister's pink dress, and I won first place as a baby girl, like I said. And so I'm like, man, that was one of my early failures in life. And then I ended up failing the first grade. I struggle with basic math and reading skills as a child. And some of you might recognize these words: ADHD, learning disabilities. So I struggled, with basic math and reading skills when I was 17 years old. I had a difficult time reading still. Um, I had a hard time telling time on a hand clock, even in my 20s. To me, a quarter to five equals 25 minutes to five, but they tell me a quarter is 15. How could a quarter not equal 25? Um, because I struggled in school and with academics. When I was 28 years old, I had never made over $6 an hour. I had a fear of going into a grocery store, even as an adult, because the last thing you have to do when you leave a grocery store is pay. And because, I had a hard time, you know, with basic math skills and just some of these basic skills, I never thought I'd even have, the economics to, to own a car, to be able to pay for car insurance. So I have an anxiety of cars, a fear of a house, anything that would take, financial wealth to thrive was something that was always really difficult or scary for me. And a lot of that ties to, my learning disabilities. Um, Another failure is I went out for a couple school sports teams and got cut. I'm thinking, man, I'm struggling with academics. I'm struggling in sports. I have already failed a grade. I'm thinking, man, I may be the first person on this planet with no talent, no abilities. Um, I remember falling in love with this beautiful girl, and I wrote her a little love letter when I was on, middle school, telling her how I felt about her. And back in the day, we'd have a thing like put an X in the box if you like me or whatever, check the box. And so I didn't hear back from her, and I sit across from her in the cafeteria, and I'm kind of confessing my love to her. And I had saved up my money and had bought a white Ozide shirt, and that was kind of the cool shirt back in the day. And I was telling her how much I liked her, and we were eating spaghetti that day, and she literally was out of a movie, picked up the tray of spaghetti and threw it all over me in the middle of the cafeteria. That was her way of rejecting me. So I'm thinking, man, I'm failing with the girls, I'm failing in sports, I'm failing in academics. So I had a brilliant idea to go out for the school choir because they let everybody in, and I'm in this. I get accepted, of course, in the school choir, and I remember we were singing the song "Fish and Chips and Vinegar," and as soon as we were done singing it, the choir director comes over to me and says, "Christian, you are such a bad singer. Would you please mouth the words?" And I'm like, wow, man, I don't even know why I'm even on planet Earth right now. I literally have the least amount of ability and talent on this planet. And the challenges I had, in failing constantly, had a huge impact on my motivation, my self-esteem. I had different challenges at home, at school. I dealt with. I want to share with you a little bit about my home life. I grew up in between DC and Baltimore in a family of 12 kids, five brothers, six sisters. I'm the eighth child. My dad is autistic, and my mom has something called social phobia, generalized anxiety disorder. My mom had a fear of leaving the house. You have to leave the house to go get food. So there wasn't a lot of food to eat in my house growing up. There's usually pickles, olives, and tuna fish. I'm gonna write a cookbook one day, 101 ways how to eat those three things. Again, my dad is kind of the opposite of me. He was brilliant. You say to my dad 5,000 times 9,853, he could instantly rattle that off the top of his head. He was one of the top mathematical geniuses in the world, and went to work for a place called, after he graduated from high school, a place called the National Security Agency, NSA, and became what they call GS 16 codebreaker. Probably more familiar with the FBI, the CIA. There's another government spy agency called the NSA. But I had this dad. Now I realize he's autistic. So I have an autistic dad, a mom with social phobia. As a child, I'm diagnosed with ADHD, conduct disorder, severe learning disabilities. And so school for me was very, very difficult. There were some school years I missed over 100 days of school. I was always out playing basketball. I was sure I was going to make it to the NBA, but because of my top physical condition, I didn't make it to the NBA. So I had to fall back on speaking. But again, because my parents' mental health issues, I was a street kid, could stay out till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning on a school night. I'd hang out with kids my age till about 5, 6 o'clock at night. But most kids my age had to go into the house pretty early. So I'd run around with the older kids. The older kids quickly introduced me to the urban pharmaceutical industry. They would put all the drugs on me because I was a cute little white kid with curly hair and dimples. The police would roll up on us, and the older kids would tell me, "Hey, Christian, you go towards the police. We're going to go the opposite direction." Well, the police never checked me. I'd go to the police. They'd hand me these Washington, football team cards and take me home. The police never checked me. So by the time I was 7, 8 years old, I became highly aware of social injustice issues in the United States. It's what inspired me to do some of this work. Well, one night I was out late at night and a car pulls up and the windows on the car slowly roll down. And I take off to run and I hear a voice. And the voice I hear is the voice of this woman right here. I'm gonna pull up her picture here, who I endearingly call Mama Jackson. Let me pull this up for you here real quick. All right, let me pull up her picture here for you. All right, here we go. All right, now see if you can figure out who I am in the picture. There, that's me on the left there, my Washington football team coat. That's my buddy Sean. I can only hang out with Sean till 5, 6 o'clock at night because Mama Jackson knows what all good parents know. Who you kick it with, you spend time with, is going to have a tremendous impact on your life, your future. So she sees me out there in the middle of the night. She knows what I'm out there doing. And she's like, "Look, Christian, don't you ever set foot on our property. I'm going to call the school tomorrow. I'm going to make sure you're not in any of my son's classes, Sean's class. I'm classes. I remember, man, thinking to myself, I know I'm bad, but I'm not that bad. I can never, ever go to school with him ever again." Well, luckily, Sean started explaining to his mom the reality of my, home life. He's like, "Look, when I go over to Christian's house, they have no pictures up on the wall. There's a lot of yelling, hitting, fighting. I come home from school every day open up the refrigerator 5,000 times, hoping that something would magically appear in the refrigerator. When nothing would appear in the refrigerator, I start punching holes in the wall, again, fighting with my siblings, getting in trouble. So, anyways, a couple days later, I'm walking to school, and Sean had explained all this to his mom, and I'm walking to school. She comes flying out of her house in this blue bathrobe. And she's like, I'll tell you what, Christian, if you'll start going to school every day, I want to see your report cards. If you start answering to me, you can come eat in our house anytime you want. Now, Mama Jackson's a seriously, seriously good cook. That's the real reason why I'm in top physical condition right now. So it's kind of like an informal foster care situation. She took over and helped raise me. Well, long, long story short, she gave me the tools to get through school with a sixth grade math level, a seventh grade reading, writing level. Also now, it's the work I'm doing. We've reached over 3 million people across the country. And a couple years ago, a gentleman named Dr. Virgil Woods, who helped plan the March on Washington with Dr. King. Let me pull up a picture here of him. He's right here to the left of Dr. King. Read my book, The Resilience Breakthrough, learned what we're doing. And was like, look, Christian, you would never have had the opportunity to do this without, Mama Jackson intervening and really helping you overcome many of these challenges in your life. Really, Mama Jackson showed me how to take a lot of my pain, my anger, and turn it into power. And so about 2 years ago, he decided to give Mama Jackson a National Rosa Parks Award. So there's Dr. Virgil Wood, who was, again, best friends with Dr. King, and there's Mama Jackson getting the award. And so, I have a debt to pay to be mentored by these incredible people, and what they taught me was unbelievable. Um, so again, one of the major things that Mama Jackson taught me was that, look, she's like, Christian, I can't get rid of your home life. There were some school years I missed a lot of school. She'd come over to my house and pick me up, take me to school. My favorite thing, she had this green plate with warm food on it, wrapped in tinfoil. And she'd pull over in front of my school and she'd say, look, Christian, I can't get rid of your learning disabilities. I can't get rid of the challenges at school, some of the anger, the fighting going on at home, your parents' divorce. You have every reason to be angry, but you have to use that anger as a reason to turn in your homework, stay in school, not give up. And what I realized now, she started giving me the skills, some of the insight on resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back. It's the ability to have suffering, to have pain, and then to convert that into a fuel source. Let me pull up a definition here of resilience for you. So resilience is the ability to bounce back when you have every reason to shut down, but you fight on. Resilient people have both tapped and untapped reserves. What I mean by untapped reserves is I had two talents growing up. I could talk nonstop. I could draw really good. Today I make a living through nonstop speaking and taking everything in mental health and kind of making it visual, which I'll give you an example of in a minute. But you got to remember that sometimes what's our weaknesses right now, what were the things that were getting me in trouble as a kid became my strengths later. And so, you have to start where you stand. You have to say, hey, how can I take the reality of my current talents, abilities, resources I have around me, and we got to maximize those things and use them to open up doors. And I want to give you some specific tools to kind of help do that. Um, I mentioned to you that my background is I'm a little bit of an artist. And when I was a kid, I spray painted my name on a water tower behind my school. My street name was Mighty Moore, so I paint Mighty Moore on a water tower. And then I'm showing my buddies at recess. I was really smart. It was a water tower right behind my school. And there's a metal sign drilled into the water tower that says $2,000 reward, leading to the arrest of the person who did this. And so after many hours of community service, um, I I just started realizing, wow, I've got to be able to take some of this anger, some of this pain I have, some of these things that led for me to do this graffiti, and then I got to channel that in a productive way. Again, so one of the things I did later in life is I took my ability to do art, and then I created kind of visual metaphors, some artwork to help myself overcome some challenges, and then teach other people some of the skills I used to overcome many of the difficulties in my life and some of the pain. And one of the things I had to do to convert pain into power is I had to understand that every day I'm like on a roller coaster. I can make decisions that I'll go up, I'll have a rush, and then boom, I'll come down and crash. That you see there, the loop right there kind of represents the problems we keep doing over and over again. And I had to get on that other track right there to opportunity, freedom, self-respect. My organization is called the Why Try organization, because I believe if you try in life, you'll have more opportunity in life, you'll have more freedom, you'll have more self-respect. I had to tear off my labels. I had many of these labels right here growing up: failure, druggie, learning disabled, dumb, lazy, rebellious, attitude problem, troublemaker. In this world, there'll be many people who will focus on what's wrong with you. One of the things I want to really encourage you to do is to tear off these labels. You got to focus on, what did I do right today? How can I do more of that tomorrow? It's like a snowball rolling down a mountain. That snowball will get bigger and bigger and bigger as you focus on, what are you doing right? How can you do more of that, the next day? This next one I want to show you here, actually, pull up this one right here. This is a metaphor here. It's kind of a tribute to my home state of Maryland. If you put a bunch of live crabs in a pot, if you don't put a lid on the pot, why can't the crabs get out of the pot? They're trying to get out of the pot. They can't get out because the other crabs are reaching up and pulling them down. And I realized my friends I was skipping school with, fighting with, getting involved in a little bit of the street culture and stuff. All we were doing is we're pulling each other down. We're keeping each other in the pot. And so if you blink twice when you're looking at this picture, instead of the crabs pulling each other into the pot, the crabs can also be pushing each other out of the pot. And you have to really ask yourself, your friends that you're kicking it with, if they care about you and they're there for you, they're not going to want to pull you down. They're not going to want to do things that hurt you long term. People who care about you will put you in a position where you can thrive. And so all of us have really got to not let other people pull us down, keep us in that pot right there. I want to pull up for you here. Just a second ago, I was talking about, tearing off labels, the importance of getting rid of some of your labels. And a friend of mine produced a song that goes with tearing off labels. And I want to play a little bit for that. And I told you I work in the music industry, and I helped produce some of these music. I didn't create it, but was involved in some of the theories behind this music right here. So here's a song that goes with this concept I was just talking to you about, tearing off labels. I just want to play a little segment here of this for you here.
A label can be good or bad, it just depends if it comes from society or real friends. And if you don't like them, you can take them off. And if they've been on too long, you could break them off. Cause all white people ain't racist, and no, all blacks ain't got the same faces. We won't feel compassion if we remain faceless. Gotta deal with the past so we can't erase this. And I know we can't help it, but it's the one thing that we really need help with. We too selfish, and we don't wanna step out the comfort zone. Cause it's not comfort when my pain is what your comfort zone. We shouldn't judge a book by its cover, arrest, convict, or judge crooks by their color. Cause our hearts all work the same. A shame that we all don't hurt the same. You are greater than the words you hear, greater than the things you fear. It's not clear now, but one day you'll be able to break free and tear off the labels. You are greater than the words you hear, greater than the things you fear. It's not clear now, but one day you'll be able to break free and tear off the labels. I remember like it was yesterday, then I paused for a second. Was it just a day? Now it's only us today. And it's so hard to say goodbye to my guy, and I really know the reason why. I used to wanna be just like him, he had it all. The grades, the girls, beautiful pictures on the wall, and a personality that was flawless. Really no choice but to succeed when having all this. 2 parents at home, college scouts on the phone. Even in the midst of crowds, he would feel alone. And I never understood till I got the call. It's too much pressure, I'm ending it all. I said, man, that ain't the thing to do, cause there's a lot of people that would kill to be you. He just said, yeah, I bet, but I haven't even been me yet. You are greater than the words you hear, greater than the things you fear. It's not clear now, but one day you'll be able to break free and tear off the labels. You are greater than the words you hear, greater than the things you fear. It's not clear now, but one day you'll be able to break free and tear off the labels. Maybe I'm not as smart as the other kids. Maybe I'll end up doing what my brother did. Cause that's how they all see me anyway. I'm a failure, so it'll happen any day. I didn't choose to be who I am. Put your feet in my shoes, you'll see who I am. I'm not a thug cause I live in the hood. I got hopes and dreams to live a life that's good. But don't hand me a ball or a mic thinking since I'm black, that's all that I like. I will not be limited by my color. The content of my character is more to discover. Cause I can feel the allegory of the cave and make it relevant and spit the story of a slave. Cause I am destiny. You speak to the worst, I'll speak to the best of me. You are greater than the words you hear.
All right. I love that line right there. You're greater than the words you hear. It took me so long to understand what my real potential is, because of all those fears and failures I dealt with my entire life. Now I want to share with you some specific tools on how to convert pain into power. One of the first things we have to do to be able to be resilient, to convert pain into power, is we have to have something. And resilience is the ability to bounce back. We have to have something to bounce back from. And when suffering shows up, when pain shows up, there's literally an opportunity to bounce back. And one of the first things we have to do that is all of us have a switch that we can flip. And what I mean by that is like this gas pump right here. You have to kind of flip the switch on the gas pump, right, to access this fuel below. And there's a question that you have to ask yourself to be able to do that. You have to be able to say to yourself, how do I use this suffering? How do I use this pain? How do I use it as a reason to turn in my homework, to not give up? How do I convert it into a resource? How do I convert it into my best friend? And so the minute you have suffering, if you can just ask yourself that question, how can I use this suffering is a reason to work harder, to put more effort into life. We call that the ability to flip the switch. And everybody has this within them. Um, I've been on this earth for almost 50 years. And throughout my entire life, we have lots of different emotions during the day. Even today, it's middle of the afternoon where I am, and I've had hundreds of positive emotions, negative emotions. And it took me years to understand that even negative emotions, sadness, hurt, anger, depression, is an opportunity to use that as a fuel source. Just like, you got to be able to access, this fuel to be able to fuel your car up here in this metaphor right here. And it took me years to understand that people who are highly resilient, they're able to use pain, able to use suffering in productive ways. There's a guy named Christopher Reeves who played Superman. I know some of you are a lot younger, you may not know who Christopher Reeves is, but he's this really famous actor. He was riding a horse, he was paralyzed, and he decided to take the pain of being paralyzed and he put it into his rehab and became a huge advocate for people with paralysis. And he took that suffering, took that pain and did something positive with it. Michael Jordan, you know took being cut from a basketball team when he was a kid and became probably the greatest basketball player of all time. Uh, what's amazing about humans is we have the ability to take something that's the worst thing that happened to us and convert it into the best thing that happened to us. And a couple things that enable us to do that. One of the first things we have to do to be able to do that is it's kind of like a battery. We've got to be able to tap into both positive and negative. Can you charge uh, um, a car with a battery with just a positive connection alone, it won't charge, but just a negative connection, it won't charge. It's the combination between the positive and the negative that enable the battery to charge. For example, growing up, I didn't have a lot of these emotions right here, happiness, peace, motivation, optimism, love, trust, and acceptance. For me to thrive, to overcome the challenges in my life, I had to take frustration, sadness, depression, loneliness, anger, and use my negative emotions as a reason, again, to turn in my homework, to stay in school, not to give up. And again, every human being every day has both positive and negative emotions, and you have twice the fuel to bounce back if you can tap into both positive and negative emotions. And it took me till I was almost 50 years to understand this, that there's no law in the universe that says you cannot take a negative emotion like sadness or frustration or anger and not create a productive outcome with it. You can create a productive outcome. And by the way, if you ever feel sad or depressed or hurt or lonely, everybody experiences those feelings. That's as normal as drinking a glass of water. Now, if it's really severe and it really impacts your day-to-day functioning, you might want to talk to a mental health worker or counselor. But just, I want you to know it's very, very normal to experience negative emotions. It's just part of being human. If you didn't experience these emotions, you would be more like a robot or a machine. It's actually what makes you human. Um, so the first thing you have to be resilient is you have to have opposition, you have to have a challenge. The second thing you have to do is flip the switch. You have to ask yourself, how can I use this challenge as my best friend? And then you want to tap into both your positive and negative emotions as a fuel source to not give up, to push through. The next thing that you want to tap into is something I call street resilience. And that's where you use any type of, let me pull this up here for you. You take the pain of disrespect, any type of disrespect, social inequality, and mistakes, and use it as fuel to propel you forward. Human beings will disrespect each other over height, weight, looks, shoe size, your teeth aren't white enough, skin color, belief system. And when we study people who are highly resilient, they use disrespect as a reason to become greater. They go, because you disrespect me. I was told I couldn't go to college because of my learning disabilities, but I use that as motivation. And today I'm even in college textbooks, but I worked really hard because they said, hey, you're not even supposed to be on this college campus, because they didn't think I should be on that campus. I worked really, really hard to show, hey, I have a right to be on this campus. And so there's no shortage. My whole life, I've had people focus on what's wrong with me. And that's where, again, when my head hits the pillow at night, I say to myself, what did I do good today? How can I do more of that tomorrow? And then you also see mistakes there. To be human is to mess up, to make mistakes. And people who are highly resilient, people who convert pain into power, the first thing they do is forgive themselves very quickly when they mess up, they make a mistake, they learn from it, they don't beat themselves up. You'll have enough people outside of you that will sometimes beat you up or focus on what's wrong with you. You never have to do that to yourself. It's so important that you love yourself. When you mess up, you make mistakes, you give yourself grace, you forgive yourself. The faster you forgive yourself, the more likely and the faster you can bounce back. So do not be hard on yourself. Um, and then the next thing I want to emphasize to you here is, let me pull this up right here, is something called relational resiliency. That means you go through the motions, you don't give up because someone needs you, you need them. This is a picture of my two kids, Cooper and Carson. If I never got invited to speak again, I would go do whatever it took to put food in their mouth. So I use that, my love for them, that connection with them, other people I love and care about, they become a motivator for me. So you want to be around as many people as possible that know your strengths, they know your weaknesses, but they treat you with love, even though they know your flaws, they know your weaknesses. And then your greatest motivation to not give up is going to be, again, relationships. When someone needs you and you need them. Mama Jackson, that I shared with you that story just a moment ago. Let me pull her up right here. Mama Jackson was that relationship for me. One of my favorite examples is this father and son team, Dick and Rick Hoyt, who ran in over 240 triathlons together. He says when he became the legs for his son, it completely transformed his life. That connection, that interdependence. Um, And then here, I want to give you an example. So there's four places that resilience comes from. We have relational resilience. We go through the motions. We don't give up because someone needs us and we need them. Then we have street resilience, where we use disrespect as a reason to not give up, to push through. And then there's something called resource resilience, where we maximize whatever resources and environment, help from other people, our own talents, our own abilities, our own skills. And then there's rock bottom resilience, is when you have every reason to give up, you're able to say to yourself, I'm going to use this worst moment of my life as a reason to become greater, not give up. And I want to kind of wind this presentation up. In the 1992 Olympics, there was a gentleman by the name of Derek Redmond, and he's one of the fastest runners in the world. And he literally comes in last place in this race. He tears his hamstring, and it's not just a little bit of a tear; he almost tears it off the bone, which would be very, very painful. It's a major tear. And you're going to see him flip the switch in his rock bottom moment here. You're going to see him tap into relational resilience. You're going to see somebody show up on that track that really motivates him. You're going to see, um, they're going to ask him to get off the track because it cuts into kind of Olympic commercial time, which costs millions of dollars. So that's street resilience. Look for that street resilient moment. And then for him to get to the Olympics, he had to maximize his resources, his talents, his abilities, and his ability to run, and his skills, his physical athletic skills. And then this is his rock bottom moment. So look for all four sources of this resilience that I've been talking about. And so I'm going to show this clip, and then I'm going to share one more thing with you, and we will wind this up here.
When you try your best but you don't succeed, when you get what you want but not what you need, when you feel so tired but you can't sleep, stuck in reverse, and the tears come streaming down your face, when you lose something you can't replace, when you love someone but it goes to waste, could it be worse? Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you. And high up above or down below, when you're too in love to let it go, but if you never try you'll never know just what you were. Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you. Tears stream down your face when you lose something you cannot replace. Tears stream down your face.
All right. The winner of that race, very few people remember, but millions and millions of people know who Derek Redmond is, because the ability to bounce back, the ability to, turn pain into power and push through is a much higher principle than just being successful. Success is fleeting, it comes and goes. It's much more important that we have the tools to get through the lows of life, and then we're much more likely to be successful throughout the lifespan if we have the tools to be able to flip that switch, to be able to tap into relational resilience, that street resilience, and not give up. If I was able to do that, I promise you, there's no one who's listening to my voice right now that can't do it. Let me share with you in closing. Um, when I was your age, one thing I didn't understand was really my value, really my worth. And I want to just end with a quick thought. If you took all the money in the world, I don't even know what that is called, cajillion dollars, right? I'm just going to make that up, right? That's all the wealth. If you took all the buildings, all the gold, all the silver, you know, what I didn't understand when I was your age is literally, let me pull this up here, is what my value was, what my worth really was. And here's a picture of all these buildings in New York. I mean, these are worth incredible amount of money and all the commerce, all the stuff going on there. You as an individual, I promise you, is worth more than all the buildings on the planet, all the wealth. And when you understand that, then you can dig down within you and say, okay, I, I'm a human being. There's nothing more valuable on this planet than a human being. And in that moment when you feel like, man, why should I try? Why should I put effort into life? Just remember, you're worth more than anything on this planet. And you got to believe in yourself and understand that. And again, I know that's hard sometimes at your age. I know I didn't see my value. I truly didn't see my worth, especially during my teens and stuff. And I promise you, today you got to understand, man, we know there's nothing more valuable than you. And if I could overcome my challenges, you can overcome your challenge. So the next time you drive into the largest city by wherever you live in this country, when you drive into that city, I want you, and you see all the buildings in New York or Chicago or in LA or wherever you are, San Diego, just remember, you as an individual, there's not even a word for how much you're worth. You guys are my heroes. I know during COVID, this has been a difficult time. Keep believing in yourself, stay resilient, don't give up. Thanks for your time.